I'm going to cover. My purpose is not to change your religion. My purpose is not to make you believe everything that I say. On the contrary, I'm the only one in the world that will tell you, listen to everyone, read everything, believe absolutely nobody, including me. You see? And I'm telling you, don't believe me unless in your own research you can prove what it is that I'm telling you. Because this is the age of deception. And if you don't believe that, you might as well go home right now because you're in the wrong place. This is the age of deception. I had a woman at the post office where we lived the other day say, I listen to your radio station every day. It's wonderful. But when Bill's show comes on, I turn it off because I don't want to be brainwashed. What is she admitting to? She's admitting that she's already been brainwashed because she is unwilling to listen to opposing viewpoints. That's the biggest #1 sign of brainwashing that there is. It didn't matter that it was my show. It's any show. Any opposing viewpoint. Anything that opposes the status quo. If you won't listen to it, you're already brainwashed. You've closed your mind and you are at the mercy of whatever manipulation they want to throw your way because you've already determined that they're telling you the truth no matter what. You don't investigate. You have accepted blindly. That's the most dangerous thing that can happen to anyone. The moment that you say, this guy right here, I like him. I like what he says. He's right. I'm going to listen to him. And anybody that says anything different to him is wrong. You've just totally destroyed yourself. Because the truth is, he's a human being. I'm a human being. This young lady is a human being. Bill Clinton is a human being. Okay?
We've all got both light and dark inside of us. What matters is the part we choose to act on. That's who we really are.
Free will. But I have to volunteer. Free will
It is a bitch.
My message is to you is don't support anybody unless they're doing what we know to be right. Don't believe them. Don't fall for the manipulations. Double check everything they say.
And that means you can't rely on the media as it is today either.
Oh, of course not.
Go ahead.
I'd like to have a couple questions for Mr. Bugliosi.
Go ahead.
Are you willing to also recommend the prosecution of Knight of Malta George Tenet and all of the other members of the Knights of Malta that are running this country for Rome? And are you willing to prosecute those high-level Roman Catholics for their complicit involvement in this false war in Iraq as well as 9/11?
Well, this Malta or whatever you said, I'm not familiar with that term, Walt, but at the grand jury hearings, not hearings, but the testimony before the grand jury, and documents, of course, and there'd be investigators interviewing people. All types of information and evidence would come out. At this state right now.
So you're saying you'd be looking at Tenet, though?
Well, yeah. But at this particular point, certainly Bush did not conspire with himself. He didn't do it himself. He conspired with others, and the two that would almost undoubtedly be prosecuted along with him, and I talk about it in the book, are Condoleezza Rice and Dick Cheney. I have a sense that Rove is up over his head in this, but the grand jury testimony would probably answer that question. Rumsfeld, I'm not sure about. I have a sense about Powell that his only sin is weakness. But in answer to your question, the grand jury proceedings would determine, with the accompanying investigation, who joined with Bush in taking this nation to war on a lie. But right now, off the top of my head, I would say certainly there's Bush and Rice. Whether there are more than that, I don't know. Possibly Tenet also.
Mr. Bugliosi.
Yes, sir.
And one more thing. You need to read a book called Vatican Assassins Wounded in the House of My Friends, which talks about 9/11 and all the people behind it.
Listen, I appreciate your call. Hey, Walt, we don't screen your calls. We let you on there. And by the way, the Vatican has been against the war over there. I'm not Catholic. I'm not getting in the middle of this. And I let you come on and ask your question. But the person you talk about has told nothing but lies and BS about me. So I know the stuff he's saying, that is his view, is a bunch of lunacy. Okay? And Mr. Bugliosi, it's just craziness. And so we're here trying to talk about serious issues. You say, yes, I'd look at trying to go after Tenet, and that isn't enough. And then people that have slandered me and my family, said horrible things about me, have to then make the show about selling their dirty book. Okay, and I don't mean that the Vatican isn't involved in evil or the Nazis in World War II. I've guessed on about that, like Jim Mars. But serious historical people who don't run around saying lies about me. So this isn't the place for you to do that. Go hawk your bull somewhere else, pal. That same guy says they drop bombs out of flying saucers, and it's and the nuclear bombs are full, and black people need to be put in another country and everything else. Okay, but then since I don't hail your God, I'm bad. This is the mental illness of the American people. We have a very serious person on the air talking about serious issues, not quack garbage. I'm sorry, Mr. Bugliosi. I tried to let him run with his question if it was serious, and it just turned into pure bull. We'll be right back with more of your phone calls for Vincent Bugliosi. Stay with us.
NASA has huge data banks on planets that are orbiting our sun that are out farther beyond the orbit of Pluto, and none of this data is public. That's one of the criminal aspects of NASA. We've paid for all this equipment, and as I said, this is the Tier 1 layer of NASA. This isn't the people this is the Tier 1 layer of NASA. This isn't the people you see at Goddard or JPL. That's the Tier 2 baloney that they want to pawn off on the public. And then all of the YouTube misinformation is also set up to misguide the public and throw all kind of curveballs so that and throw all kind of curveballs so the general public doesn't really get a good story on what's going on. That's why I told people, if you want to know what's going on, listen to my radio shows, listen to my interviews on shows like Joyce Riley, and forget YouTube and all this baloney that's being put out there to the public's mind off in some place where nothing's going on. And see, the other thing is that allows these Tier 2 NASA scientists to go, oh, look at all that ridiculous Planet X stuff over there, because you got crazy ladies that talk to aliens. You got everything in the world in that mix. So it's easy for them to try and pack my work with that and say, look at all those crazy Planet X people. That's what this is all about. It's misinformation to distract and promote misinformation to the public.
Okay, let me just address that, because let me address that issue right there, the misinformation of the public, because you have been accused of doing the very same thing.
You ever heard that phrase, everyone knows that, mate? Well, why does everyone know that? Well, it's because this system is controlled by what I call repeaters. They're people in the situations of power and influence who just repeat what someone else tells them. You've got teachers who repeat what they learned in their exams and what they learned at teacher training college, and they repeat that to the next generation.
They're not to give you an education. They're not to teach you how to think. They don't want you to be capable of critical thinking, as George Carlin said, for which I believe he was killed after he gave that profane rant, although true that it was. No, you can't be able to think. We don't want you to know how to think, because you're going to figure out who runs things if you learn how to think. And you're going to have these crazy preachers on the radio like that Phelps guy, and he's going to start talking about all these secrets, and we're going to have a problem, yeah.
Yeah, that's why when you go to college, you get a degree. Because that's the way you move in Freemasonry, is by degrees. The 33rd degree, the 32nd degree, the 3rd degree. You go to college and get a degree, because these people will teach you what you're supposed to know, not what you're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to think like this. They teach you what you're supposed to know. They teach you how to earn a living, not how to live. They teach you how to think, not to think, but how to think. And so that's why when you come out of college, they call you an alumni, because you're an illumini. You are illuminated. You've been enlightened by the powers that be. As long as you stay square and play on the square, you're going to do all right, as long as you don't go thinking too much.
I love to be creative and express myself, and they're not letting us do this. It's kind of just the same thing over and over again.
So what? We're just supposed to do whatever these patriots say.
Just calm down.
Aaron, they're telling us which books we are allowed to teach and which ones we're not.
Did it ever occur to you that I could still win this case?
I don't care. That's not what this is about.
What the hell is it about?
It's about whether or not you can do what you're told.
The cop? You mean your cop?
Yes.
But it's all good, right? Because you said he's controllable.
Absolutely.
It's an incredible concept, which, you know, I've always described it as, you know, if I create $10 worth of notes, 10 notes that have these little incantations written all over them, little symbols and things like that, and I issue that to you and say that is money, and you agree that it is money, but I then say at the end of the year I want 11 of them back, all right? I've just asked you to do the impossible. The only way that somebody can do that would be to forge or counterfeit one of those notes, which, as we know, is one of the defense mechanisms of finance system. Nobody can go out and do that without getting themselves into trouble. So if I make a law based on that, but still demand I want 11 of those notes back, even though I've only given you 10, oh boy, it's incredible that people fall for this. But we have.
Slavery has been abolished 150 years. It's a whole new day in America.
To answer your question, we are absolutely slaves to central banks, because, and we'd love to be slaves of the economy, but do we work for the central bankers?
We know that we do.
Okay, the fact is this, and I like using this analogy because I think it's effective. People always say, well, V, you know, when do you have a time frame? Do you have a time frame? Folks, you got to understand, I'm not dealing with a regular stock market anymore. I'm not. I'm dealing with fake numbers, fake statistics, fake trades, fake put options. Everything is fraudulent. Everything is manipulation. In other words, I am dealing with massive amounts of criminal activity that's occurring in the stock market that is very deceptive, that is designed to throw you off, okay?
Government is derived from the Latin word gubernare, a verb meaning to control, combined with mente, a Latin noun meaning mind. Government means to control the mind. If the word government literally means to control the mind, wouldn't learning how to control your own mind negate the opportunity for external government? It is a simple act of asking questions which illustrates Achilles' heel of the control system. You can condition animals, but if humans ask questions, they can learn their way to freedom. The absence of government is anarchy, not autonomy. Absence of someone else controlling your mind does not automatically give you critical thinking, so it's more logical, reasonable, and rational to learn how to learn anything for ourselves and thereby becoming autonomous, whereby external mind control or government is no longer necessary. Government to control the mind is a form of aggression when it is used against your consent.
They have total control over everything. So anytime you see things going on, just understand that the powers that be in this government want it that way. Franklin Roosevelt, probably most of you don't remember who he was one of the presidents. Franklin Roosevelt made a statement publicly that I think is very important. He said that anytime you see anything happen in politics, you better understand it was planned that way. So anything that's going on in this country that you see that sounds crazy and lunacy, it's crazy and lunacy to you. But to those guys who are doing it, they know what they're doing.
Beginning. It is we, the people, who give them the power to represent us. And
But the truth is, if you want to know what's wrong with this country, ladies and gentlemen, go look in the mirror. Go look in the mirror. And you will see exactly what's wrong with the United States of America staring at you in the glass. Absolutely.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go wild.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look forward...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us. And we'll be right back.
The Bohemian Club, as you say, the Bohemian Club? That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
But as Dick Gregory once said a long time ago, yes, we can elect our leaders, but you can't select your leaders. You don't select anyone. Your masters who own you will select who will run. You can merely vote on whoever they decide to allow you to vote on. That's all they wanted to know. Just which one do you like best? It doesn't mean much of anything. It's just a poll. And so every 4 years, Americans go to the poll to tell their masters who own them. And they do own you. And so every 4 years, your masters who actually own your body want to know which one of these individuals that work for us, they work for the corporation, you work for the company, but which one of these would you feel better about having at the head of the company? Which one do you personally like? All 6 of them work for the company. They work for the government, period. But which one do you particularly like? Because this way, if you particularly like one and you vote for him, then we will make him the president of the company, and you will be happy because it was your choice. No, it wasn't your choice. You didn't have the opportunity to select your leader. You only had the opportunity to elect one of the 6 that they gave you, and all 6 work for the same company. So this is why nothing ever gets done, because people don't understand how their world really works. Extraordinary stuff. I suspect that this is a very important time in human history, and especially in the history of our country, when you don't know how your government works. You had better wake up and understand that you have left your government in the hands of other people to take care of things for you because you're too busy with your everyday life.
This is the news. You got a problem with the news now? Yeah, I got a big goddamn problem with the news. You ready for this? The news is completely manipulated.
And all journalists know that there's some things you don't write about and you don't talk about because you'll lose your job. And that's where the control is. And that's why they pay anchormen like Dan Rather $2 million a year, because he doesn't question them. He knows that if he goes against them, he's going to lose $2 million a year. Do you think a man that looks pretty and sits in front of a TV camera for the 6 o'clock news is worth $2 million a year? No way. I don't care how long he works, and I don't care what he does. There is no job worth $2 million a year. That's why they pay athletes these fantastic salaries. I was listening to the radio the other day. They just contracted to pay one player on one team $6 million a year. Can you believe this?
And why is that?
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive, and when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor? He sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum, and he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. And he has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world, so that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is, so they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being manipulated, so they don't ever question the emperor. That's why they pay a player on a football team or a baseball team $1 million or $2 million or $3 million a year.
I mean, the propaganda is really getting cheesy.
I know, but people buy it. You look at the Trends Journal, the last edition, and you look at the story we did on George Bush, after 9/11, the evening of 9/11, and 9 days later when he addressed the nation, I wrote it. I said only a madman would speak these words, and only people dumbstruck with terror would believe them. Bush's popularity rating went from 51% to 90% overnight, with lines that were dumber than dumb. There was no proof at all. You don't need good propaganda when people are fearful.
But
all you have to do is lie. And that's all they do. It's so easy to go to war. It's so easy to take the people to war. You name the country. You don't need good propaganda.
Well, that's what they've discovered. The public will buy it. It doesn't...
Anything.
Let me talk for a few moments about entertainment. And the ancient world and the ancient European world was a Druidic system. And one of the most important symbols in that European Druidic system was a magic wand. Like Merlin the magician with his magic wand, always waving the magic wand. The same idea as today with the orchestra leaders who have the magic wand. And of course you play to their tune. They're the boss. They have the magic wand. And Merlin the magician, as I said, was always a Druidic symbol for power, a magic wand. Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It was made out of Hollywood. Once you understand Hollywood, you begin to understand the Druidic system, which we call Hollywood. And then you begin to see the symbols, the words, the terms. Hollywood, as my dear friend Dick Gregory once said, Hollywood does three things. They tell you what your masters have done in the past, what they're doing now, and what they're getting ready to do. That's what Hollywood is there for, to tell you the history and where you are now and where you're going. Because people like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas are many things, but stupid is not one of them. They're brilliant directors and producers. They're extraordinarily brilliant writers and people in Hollywood who know what's going on. They know where the world is going, and they're putting it into movies. They're showing you what it was like many years ago, what it's like now, and they're making movies about what's coming. That's Hollywood. Druidic system of entertainment. You need to wake up and understand what's going on here.
We are in control because basically we are not a political organization, we are an occult organization. We're working behind the scenes to manipulate the way that people think. The war that we are waging is a guerrilla war on the human mind. And we use musical frequencies, the dominant frequency, which I've referred to before, and symbolism and imagery to awaken dormant aspects of the human mind. And symbolism and imagery to awaken dormant aspects of the human mind. What we're waging is a cultural war right now on every front, in music, in literature, utilizing the media against itself. And we're using music because that's the instrument that young people respond to right now. We're doing propaganda directly to awaken the wolf in man. We are in control, and symbolism and imagery to awaken dormant aspects of the human mind. Politics is merely the puppet show of human beings, and we transcend that, but we are interested in the control of human beings for our own purposes. We are in control, and the wolf represents the beast in man. That's what we seek to unleash in humanity because it's been repressed and tamed by Judeo-Christian values, and that above all is what we seek to eradicate. The wolf should be unleashed, destroying everything that Judeo-Christianity has succored and kept alive. We have no concern for the homeless, particularly. We don't have any concern in helping people. As Adolf Hitler said, we seek to bring about a youth that has closed its heart to pity. All of the humanist values that Judeo-Christianity has encouraged, we want to wipe them out. It's led to democracy, social humanism, the idea of equality. All of this filth has to be wiped out if the human race is going to continue to take the next step in evolution. Order, an end of the old world and the beginning of a new order.
Greatest deception here is this is not one nation under God. It never was. Had it been, it would not have been. No. It would not have been. Constitution would not have been written by freemasons. They go against God. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve two masters. Praise be to God, Lord Jesus Christ.
I'm a soldier. I obey.
Didn't I teach you to think for yourself?
You will follow orders, damn you.
Look, think for yourself.
What are you waiting for? Kill him.
Why? He can't hurt anyone anymore.
Obey the order. Come over here. Obey my order machine.
Vincent wouldn't like this. Vincent told me not to kill anyone.
Vincent isn't your master. I am. Kill him.
No.
You really are unique, aren't you?
The thing is, Princess, I got orders.
Orders? Can't you just once think for yourself?
Well, that was very impressive.
Do you really think there is going to be a war?
There doesn't have to be.
No. Not if people use their heads.
I got this real moron thing I do. It's called thinking.
They don't need order to defend themselves and to defend their barracks and their camps.
It's all so confusing. Who's fighting who, and how, and what for isn't clear.
And you're wrong about me. I'm done taking orders. From you, from anyone. But you're right about one thing. I am a grade A student. And I've learned from the best.
You think I'm a puppet, huh? You think I'm a puppet gonna do a little fucking puppet dance? I'm the boss of my own brain, so give it up.
Puppeteers. Marty was right.
This can best be illustrated by the soldier trained to follow orders without thinking.
So, Mr. President, as you know, you follow the news because I talked to some of the people that used to work with you who are walking the halls of Fox, and you see what's happening with Syria right now.
Yeah.
Now, I know you don't like to comment about what's in the news, but you can comment about the Syria you dealt with for 8 years.
I can comment about this. The president's got a tough choice to make, and if he decides to use our military, he'll have the greatest military ever backing him up.
Right.
And when people lead you, they're going to mislead you. So you better start taking back your own mind and your own sovereignty and start thinking for yourself, which has made America great. We were a free country because we did not want to cower ourselves to tyranny. We wanted to question everything.
That I had orders from the Pentagon.
We understand orders. We follow them every day.
Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria.
Hang on a minute. I just need to understand something. Right, so you will fight against them, they will fight against you, all on account of him wanting to kill him? Where is the sense? Exactly. I say, let them fight each other. Or we lay back, watch, have a drink, play some wagers. Hey! Hi.
You know, people say, well, don't you feel threatened? Don't you feel like your life is in danger? Are you kidding? You're the people who sent your sons and daughters to fight an illegal, immoral, unjustified war in the Middle East? And that didn't bother you a bit that they might have got killed over there? And you're worried that I might get hurt or killed? Right here, really defending my country? Really fighting in defense of the Constitution?
Right.
Who's backing ISIS? The CIA. CIA backs the Muslim Brotherhood. CIA backs Hamas. CIA backs all these radical, these typical Muslim groups, I should say. They're backing them all.
Plots and others.
You tell the story about how you tried to find out what they call the Mossad when they deal with publicly?
I thought it was a reasonable question, but the trouble is you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, CIA, or in our case, the Mossad. We thought we should ask, what shall we call it in English? You can translate the Hebrew words, as I said, Mossad is institute, but when they write a letter to their friends in the CIA or the British intelligence, what do they call themselves? It took a while. It was a matter of asking the Prime Minister's spokesman. The best you could do, because officially the Mossad is under the Prime Minister's office. And I think he sort of wondered why you want to know and all that, so we explained. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. I mean, if it were to have initials, it would be ISIS. Just simple words like that. Interestingly enough, kind of a British model.
We came to join the rebels.
What?
What's the FBI doing in San Marcos with a cocaine smuggler?
I'm not FBI, and he's not a...
Well, technically I am, but...
We're both CIA.
What?
CIA.
And we're also the rebels.
These dickheads aren't FBI, Lana. They're CIA. And also the rebels.
Wait a minute. If the CIA is backing the rebels against Calderon...
Well, the endgame has always been for us to invade San Marcos, so...
Hey, Donna. We got a carrier group in the Gulf, right?
Wait, if you were going to invade San Marcos, then why have you been selling weapons to Calderon?
So he could fight the rebels.
Which is you.
Well, technically, they're mercenaries from Honduras and Guatemala, but yes.
Okay, so am I just stupid, or...
Duh.
I, however, do need your key card.
Yeah.
I will.
Archer trained me to be a field agent?
Lesson 1, human intel.
Oh, shoot! So human intelligence entails what
well,
exactly?
There's false flags, dead drops, dropouts, cutouts, active doubles, passive doubles, dangled moles, the often underappreciated honeypot.
Wow,
one of my favorites.
Sounds like a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Preachers who claim not to encourage violence, but whose worldview can be used as a justification for it. We know this worldview, the peddling of lies, that 9/11 was somehow a Jewish plot, or that the 7/7 London attacks were staged.
The thing that concerns me is that what are we doing for the thousands of men and women actually who are in London working? And I say that because at 9:30 this morning we were actually running an exercise for over a company of 1,000 people in London based on simultaneous bombs going off precisely at the railway stations that happened this morning. So I still have the hairs on the back of my legs standing upright.
To get this quite straight, you were running an exercise to see how you would cope with this, and it happened while you were running the exercise?
Precisely. And it was about 9:30 this morning. We planned this for a company, and for obvious reasons I don't want to reveal their name, but if they're listening they'll know it. And we had a room full of crisis managers for the first time they met. And so within 5 minutes we made a pretty rapid decision. This is the real one. And so we went through the correct drills of activating crisis management procedures to jump from slow time to quick time thinking and so on.
But that's all.
Do you think about the people who did this to you?
I haven't thought about it yet. I just kind of want to stay focused on rehabilitating myself, and then maybe I'll learn those details later.
But that, at this point, that's not important to you?
No.
Just getting better? Right?
Just getting better.
I wish you strength in the days.
We cannot be positive, but we're confident that these were the two actors, these were the two individuals that were carrying out this mission.
I wanted to ask you, George, I'm really curious to find out what you think about this whole 9/11 conspiracy truth movement thing that's going on across the nation. They interrupted Bill Maher's show last Friday.
Yeah.
What are your personal thoughts on that? Would you care to comment on that?
I always question the received reality. The consensus reality is often intentionally misleading.
Would you support a new investigation on 9/11?
You know, that's like, you know, that they don't investigate themselves in this country. Those people, there would be a whitewash. It would be like the Kennedy thing. It would be like everything.
Okay.
The people who are in charge do what they want, and they will always do what they want. The power does what it wants to. And I wouldn't trust an investigation. It's just fun. It's good speculation. Because you can't, you're getting this on here.
Oh, yeah. I hope you don't mind.
Well, anyway, now you know. Take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
it.
Thank you, George.
The teachers were starting to yell at and say, like, they would yell at us and say, like, shut the door, get down, stay low, and be quiet. And then we knew something was serious was going on. And then the lights went out, and we knew it was a lockdown. It came over the PA, and it said, this is a lockdown drill.
It came over the PA, and it said, this is a lockdown drill.
Oopsie. We knew, or not a drill. We knew it wasn't a drill because of the way our teachers handled it. They were pretty serious. And then the lights went out.
That's exactly right. If you look at what this guy's been posting about on his website, he's not screaming about President Obama per se. He is angry at the government. He's talking about 9/11 conspiracy theories. He's talking about Dick Cheney more than he is President Obama. He's talking about even the JFK conspiracy theories around that assassination. So what you've got here is clearly a guy who's very mentally disturbed. But
until we get that world government but you know something, Brian? The people that are behind this treaty want that world government, and in their minds, this is a step toward it.
You mean controlling ammo, controlling the amount that's available, eventually controlling the market?
Eventually controlling all of us. Sure. Yes.
What's going on?
So let me just give a few facts regarding the Ebola attack. The CDC has stated there's no significant risk in the United States from the current Ebola outbreak.
This is not a naturally occurring typhus. The proteins were chemically tagged. The stuff was made in a lab.
What are you saying?
I think the Patriots started this outbreak on purpose.
In weather prediction, and eventually in weather control.
Another question on the in an interview with the Los Angeles Times on April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest. Would you explain what you were trying to say?
Well, what I was trying to say is exactly what I said.
There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilize it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base with Senator Pell.
I just want to repeat before I turn to
So yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying the government has created weather tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans.
Worldwide.
Millions of Americans, and to control the rest.
Yes, sir, and that's my belief. As bizarre as that sounds, if somebody had told me that that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world, and that's the Senator's own statement. So yes, I do stand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator.
There was a mention then of weather, W-E-A-T-H-E-R. This was another really striking statement. He said, we can, or soon will be able to control the weather. He said, I'm not merely referring to dropping iodide crystals into clouds to precipitate rain that's already there, but real control. And weather was seen as a weapon of war, a weapon of influencing public policy. You could make rain or withhold rain in order to influence certain areas and bring them under your control. There were two sides to this that were kind of striking. He said, on the one hand, you can make drought during the growing season so that nothing will grow, and on the other hand, you can make for very heavy rains during the harvest seasons so that the fields are too muddy to bring in the harvest, and indeed one might be able to do both. There was no statement how this would be done. It was stated that it was either already possible or very, very close to being possible.
There was one promise with all the damn visions and lightning flashes of yours, one hard promise I thought I could count on. I was going to be able to send messages to distant places without any wires. And now, sure enough, the thing's been invented, but not by you, Tesla, no. By some Italian here.
Marconi.
Whatever. Well, he's made some kind of box. He's talking to England with it, and I've got to buy patents from him. What if he did steal it from you? You're not the only one with ideas, you know. There's a Jew over in Germany.
Einstein. The whole scientific world is talking about that new theory of his.
And in Paris? What's that about Paris?
They have split the atom.
Whatever that means.
It could mean a whole new source of energy.
Such energy is created by destroying natural elements. That is a serious crime against nature, and one day it's going to bring on catastrophe. The world is at a crossroads right now, and if we pass up this chance, we shall be held responsible by future generations.
Chance? Chance for what?
Commodore, we send energy, all energy, to the outer shell of the Earth, the ionosphere. Energy from the sea, the wind, energy from the sun. We no longer need to burn or destroy anything. We simply take what already exists and put it to our use in unlimited quantities.
want me to believe all this is possible?
But I have proved it already. Everything is in that file. All we have to do is apply it.
Adams.
Yes, Commodore.
You've seen all this?
Yes, Commodore.
One single source of energy. That's what this means. Right, Tesla?
Yes, that is right.
And anyone can draw on it, anyone in the world.
The Earth's outer shell, remember, goes around the whole planet. Yes. Power will belong to everyone. Like the air we breathe.
There's some financial details we ought to go over. Tesla, I won't keep you any longer. I know how anxious you are to get back to your work. We'll send this stuff on to you. Oh, I forgot you. Never shake hands. Just supposing he isn't crazy. That man could turn the world upside down and stand it on its head.
Yes, I do believe he could. It's a wonderful prospect.
Wonderful? Listen, if that lunatic can really do what he says he can do, have you any idea what's going to happen?
No, sir.
One source of energy, that's what's going to happen, just one. So anybody at all. Just stick an antenna up in his backyard and hook into it, and we won't have anything left to sell but antennas. We'll be producing the power, and anyone who feels like it can milk our cow for free. Well, no thank you, Mr. Tesla. I'm not contributing to that charity. Write him a letter, Adams. Have it ready for me to sign in the morning.
Yes, Commodore. What shall I tell him?
Tell him goodbye.
The $400 billion deal became reality at this ceremony in Shanghai yesterday. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping toasted the 30-year pact between their state-controlled gas monopolies.
This is a plot. Plots are not public knowledge.
At the highest levels of all countries, they all belong to the same club. And we, the people, sit back and we watch this grand drama which is being played out for our benefit, not theirs. If it wasn't for us, they wouldn't even have to do any of this. But you see, they just can't come out and destroy all of us because they need slaves. They need people to make their shoes and make their cars and mine the ore. They need worker bees, and that's what we are. In the New World Order, we will be the worker bees, the slaves.
And essentially, are they controlling the West? Besides the United States, are they controlling the Western nations?
They control the world.
The world.
Yes.
All right. So that includes China and Russia?
Yes.
All right. Now, also,
the leader also noted that Iran should become more powerful to play an effective role in the world's new order.
The issue of Zionism in the Patriot movement comes up an awful lot, and the question I've had about Zionism and Zionists, are Zionists the controller of things, or are they just another set of soldiers in this whole cabal that was created by the bankers so many years ago?
Well, that was created. Zionism was created. You see, the Rothschild family in Frankfurt, Germany, in 1838, they were building up all sorts of things because they were taking over Europe, and so they suddenly came out with Karl Marx in 1838 with the doctrine of communism, and they came out with they got Rabbi Herzl to create the doctrine of Zionism, and then they had Hitler create Nazism, and Mussolini create fascism. All those fascism, Nazism, communism, and Zionism all came out of the Rothschild offices in Frankfurt, Germany.
All the isms, and they so long ago had decided on this one world government, and because again, you know, one world government, it's easier to make money, it's easier to control things.
Oh, it is. The more control you have, the more money you make. You can't have any competition because everything becomes a monopoly. So there's no competition. So the people in power can make all the money they want.
Yeah.
And since they have no competition, they can charge any price they want.
Right.
So it creates an ideal situation.
Yeah.
And they call that capitalism. It's not capitalism at all. It's more communism. But the doctrines of capitalism, communism, Nazism, and fascism and Zionism are all so close that you can't separate one from the other.
Right.
And it's always the same people running all five systems.
Always, and that's to me is the most troubling thing, because again, well, I mean, the one thing about it, at least you know who you're fighting in this whole deal.
Yeah, because if you don't know who your enemy is, you're helpless.
I hope to show that most modern secret societies, and especially those that practice degrees of initiation, and that is the key, are really one society with one purpose. You may call them whatever you wish: the Order of the Quest, the Jason Society, the Roshaniya, the Kabbalah, the Knights Templar, the Knights of Malta, the Knights of Columbus, the Jesuits, the Masons, the ancient and mystical order of Rosicruci, the Illuminati, the Nazi Party, the Communist Party, the executive members of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Group, the Brotherhood of the Dragon, the Rosicrucians, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, the Open Friendly Secret Society of the Vatican, the Russell Trust, the Skull and Bones, the Scroll and Key, the Order. They are all the same, and all work toward the same ultimate goal: a new world order.
If I wanted to control Egypt.
Of course you do. Why else are you here? And why save me so heroically from death, if not to use me as your puppet queen?
Do you dislike the notion?
My wishes are immaterial. You redeemed me from captivity. I am your slave.
And then after the Russian army invaded the nation of Georgia, Senator Obama's reaction was one of indecision and moral equivalence, the kind of response that would only encourage Russia's Putin to invade Ukraine next. That's crisis scenario number 4.
I went through the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11, and an officer from the Joint Staff called me into his office and said, I want you to know, he said, sir, we're going to attack Iraq. And I said, why? He said, we don't know. And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir, he says, it's worse than that. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran.
Look! It's Cooper's Tower!
Those guys will do anything for publicity.
The symbol of the Roman Empire and the emperor was the double-headed eagle. It signified that he ruled over both the east and the west, that the sun did not set on the Roman Empire. This symbol still is displayed upon the walls of the Vatican, and just recently, Russia adopted this symbol as its national symbol. It is the symbol of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. And I could go on and 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 on. But hopefully, you get the point.
Hey, Jez, what do we call the Ruskies these days? Russians? Former Soviets? I forget.
New World Order Divine. Get used to it.
The most sensitive documents are always divided into threes among us. 1/3 to the Dominicans, 1/3 to the Franciscans, and 1/3 to us Jesuits. The truth of any document is only known to a very powerful few.
That's typical of this place, isn't it?
We live in a highly competitive world, Andrew. The church is no exception.
Nothing ever gets out of here, does it? Unless, of course, they wanted to.
It's a very important point that knowledge is a basis for power. That you have
You need to remember, in this day and age, information is sacred. Information is power, and society must protect that at all costs from these terrorists.
Gentlemen, now you can see how dangerous individualism can be. It makes us vulnerable. Let's go.
The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change. People will see in the media all of these disclosures. They'll know the lengths that the government is going to grant themselves powers unilaterally to create greater control over American society and global society. But they won't be willing to take the risks necessarily to stand up and fight to change things.
All right, enough! Oh my God, this would be so much easier if you would just snap out of it.
Snap out of what?
I don't know, whatever program you guys are all following.
You know, some new and unpredicted threat. We need more authority. We need more power. And there will be nothing the people can do at that point to oppose it. And it'll be turnkey tyranny.
Because then, if they recognize it, they have to be responsible to do something about it. And that's what every one of you have been resisting all your life, is being responsible to do something about it, to get involved. And to these men who control things behind the scenes, you are stakes on the table by choice and consent, and will always be ruled and manipulated and enslaved by people who do use their brains.
And so the idea was that when you see things happening and you don't care because it really doesn't affect you and your home and your little area and of the town that you live in, so why bother? Well, one day what goes around comes around. It will be your turn.
And when it's your turn, everyone else in the world will be too busy to care one way or the other about what's happening to, in fact, you and your town. So don't look for the rest of the world to stand up and demand the protection and rights for you, because you never give a damn about anybody else when their rights are being taken. And so, yeah, there is something to be said for this idea of community responsibility.
Who of us could ever envision a 9/11 happening? But the difference between 9/11 and what I'm about to tell you is that we know this can happen. The question is not will it happen, but when will it happen? Civilization as you know it is gone. Prove an electromagnetic pulse would destroy all electronics and the transformers that power everything, anything, with an on-off switch. The disaster that I'm talking about can be unleashed naturally by an intense solar flare or deliberately by an enemy detonating a nuclear weapon in the Earth's atmosphere.
It's all true. It's all real. Nothing here is fake. Nothing you see on this show is fake. It's merely controlled.
Because you're operating from a place of ignorance, and until you change that, you're going to be bumbling around, bumping into each other, saying and doing the wrong things, not understanding the nature of your enemy. And if you don't understand the nature of your enemy and the weapons they use, you cannot fight that enemy. You can't fight the battle. You shouldn't even be on the battlefield. That's why you're losing the war. And don't tell me you're not, because I'm in a place of great knowledge about who's winning and who's losing this war. And I can assure you, you're losing the war. Doesn't mean it can't be turned around, but it'll never be turned around until you learn what you need to know.
You're operating from a position of ignorance, apathy, abdication, irresponsibility, and we're losing our country, our freedoms, everything.
Now, these are strong accusations of the American public. What do you hope to accomplish by angering the very audience that you want to watch, listen to you?
Go prove me wrong. Go make me the idiot. In so doing, you're going to find out what the truth is, and maybe you'll wake your up. And if you do, maybe we can save our country.